So here's what I'm using. Hopefully I've got enough. Now I have some other good quality caulking. This is Sikaflex. It can be immersed in water. It's interior, exterior. It's also safe for drinking if you care to put it in a water tank. So I use that. I bought that quite a while ago actually, but still good. So I'll put that on, and it says it has a 1 hour tack period, so then I should be able to put the rubber seal on after that. I've put the caulking on. One tube did it, so I think I've got it all where it has to be. The bottom is ready, top is not. It took me a long time to put it all in. I put an extra bead in each corner because that's where I expect it to be the weak spot. The rubber does fit perfectly on the width. Even though I had a couple different dimension boards, I was able to get the thickness properly. So now to feed the rubber in. And originally the seam of the rubber was on that side right there. So that's where it's going back. It's important to flare the rubber to make sure it clears the caulking, doesn't smear it down the side of the trailer like that. And it will go on both sides. You don't end up having to fight it. Like that. And then if it pops back in, pull it out, it'll flare. Make sure it's going down on both sides, and it is. Etc. Like that. I'm gonna have to work this a bit. There's a bigger gap here than was before. I have to caulk inside here and then work the window in. And I'm going to start with that side, sliding it in, and then working it lengthwise.
And then I'll push it.
Or I'm going to push up the top first. But I think probably in the end. Then the top, then this side, and the final bit on the bottom. I took this all out together as one because they had it screwed in here, and I didn't know that. So my experience with these is they come out in one, but not this one because they'd screwed the rubber molding down. But I'm not going to do that. I think this caulking is strong enough to hold it. If not, I'll have to deal with it later, but I don't really want to put screws in there. It'll make everything uneven. And I ain't got a factory, so got to do the best I can with what I got. So get the caulking for the inside and the window. I've let it sit for 15 minutes. Got a bit of a tack to it now. Age and gravity dictated that I start with the bottom and the edge. And I'll work it in. Now I'm working it along the top. It's still loose here, so I'll get a bit more on the top and then I'll slide the whole thing over. If you're using something with a sharp edge like this, temptation is to try and feed it in sideways. Don't, because this will trap the rubber on the edge of the window and cut it. If you get something rounded, it's more forgiving, but it still can still have. I've caulked it on the outside edge as well. I got excess in there, unfortunately. You have to watch that this seal has a clip to it, and it tends to clip onto the bottom edge. This is where this goes. So this was joined in the middle when I took it apart. Now I've got this all clear, all free. Now this is where I removed all the silicone, so that's the outside edge. That's the inside edge. Now I've got a wide portion and a narrow portion. And it kind of looks like it goes that way. Let's see how it reacts. Nope, that is definitely not it. It's the other way. Sticks out way too much. There we go, pushes right in. There's a couple different ways to do this. Initially I started with just pushing it in with the putty knife. It worked, a little bit awkward. This worked pretty well. It's a screwdriver that's not too sharp. Kind of rounded on the edges. And I just worked it along 1/4 inch at a time, pushed it down in. I also found that this works. I tried this right at the last. You can't check it all by checking the seating by going like that in the groove. It'll push it all into place. This is a tool for doing window screens. The rubber binding that holds the screen in. So I'll let things set up a bit, then I'll clean it and make sure there's no gaps anywhere. So it'll be a bit more caulking, and then should be done. I'll go check the inside now. So I cleaned off the window. So to do it with mineral spirits, it actually works. Imagine that. So I've got a bit more to clean here. See, that's for me trying to scrape off this stuff. It's got to set up a bit more. I'll do the inside as well at the same time, and then I'll put some of the original caulking in here because it's black. Seal this all off. And it should be one window in place, hopefully with no leaks. Wouldn't that be nice? One completed window repair. Just put that on fairly thick, fill the hole, cut down the excess. I'm gonna leave it like that. See, it's pretty, looks way better than it did. Hopefully it's not leaking. Fix the hatch interior. Put new tape on it, as you can see. That was all cut. And then I reinforced the top of it into a piece of wood. In here, it's all back together. Sadly, that shelf in the front did not fit properly after I replaced the wood. Largely because it was rotten before, so you just cut it roughly and shoved it in. So I could have shoved it in a bit more, but I had to cut a new groove underneath, and I wanted a bit of a lip left, so we have to put some molding or something there, but there's gaps on the sides, unfortunately. But other than that, windows done. Benches are back in. Cabinets are in. Just got to put the table back. And it's ready for camping. Nothing can go wrong anymore. Again, in the future. This molding has a neat little feature. Once you get the expanding strip out, which is easy, then you can clip it down and it'll hook on itself like that, which ought to make it easier. You can see. Can't do it on the side, so it's not hooking properly, but I can try again. We've been in the trailer for a week. A couple days ago we had 5 hours of driving rain. That is driving through the rain at 100 kilometers an hour, roughly 62 miles an hour. And you can see there's some water in there. It was about twice as much, but I opened up the plug. One plug there. Yesterday it got lots of sun, so about half of it has evaporated. It leaked down through here and over on the other side, the same place. So it's got to come out again. So I bought some Sikaflex or Sikaflex, which is this rubberized stuff. I'll put more of that in. But I also have to take it out because my double tape idea did not work, obviously, because it's got water in between them. So I have some gray caulking tape. It's about 1/8 of an inch thick, which is thick for this job. So I'm going to cut it down to 1/4 inch or 3/16, something like that. Strips, put it in there and squeeze them together. And I'll experiment to see how much they squeeze out. I'll go from there. But when we get where we're going, that may be attempted. It may not. It may wait till I get home. But disappointing. So there you go. Revision 1 fail. So here goes. To try taking the glass out and putting the caulking, the strip caulking in between the two pieces. So I'll take this out, I'll pull the glass out, plexiglass, and then afterwards with this out and the window back in, I will caulk around here, or maybe even before the window goes in, and take it all the way around to the top, each side. It didn't rain, it didn't get wet in there the other day during a rainstorm. Although it wasn't a thunderstorm, it was just a steady rain. But my suspicion is that it's the water's getting forced up underneath when I'm driving. So get an extra bead in here underneath, and hopefully that takes care of it. Okay, I'm bailing. Not going to do that part. I'm going to recaulk some of this that I've worked free, and that'll be it for now till I get home. It's just there's too much caulking around there, so I don't think it's leaking from that portion. Unfortunately, I won't be getting the two pieces apart, so that wasp that's in there is there forever, possibly. So I'll redo this part, and that should be able to stay anyway, even if I do take the glass out later. So here goes. Well, it's a mess, but I've squeezed it out now. Make sure it comes out all the way around. I'll have to clean all this off. Let it set up a bit, otherwise it just smears. See, that one is just, I gotta put a little more in there. You can see it's not quite coming out. And then there's some others I have to do as well. And I think I'll have to do the top as well, because that's just in case. So I'll show you, isopropyl alcohol takes it off. So does paint thinner and mineral spirits, if I remember correctly. It's polyurethane caulking anyway. Couldn't see anything on there that says how to clean it off. So here I had wiped it a little too soon. So now I will use the isopropyl, 99%. Well, this is 91, but go for as much as possible. Make sure you have a clean spot of the rag or it's not going to work. There you go. Keep going like that. This has to set up yet. Leave it for another hour, but I can clean the window. I can clean some of these bigger spots that are far away. But I had to put more in because it was not sealing completely, is my theory. Razor scraper seems to work the best. You get it to a point where it's, well, it's still not quite right. Not done up enough yet, but that's the idea. Get the razor scraper, just run it along here, the edge, like that, and then you can pull it off. So this has to set up just a little bit more. That's the idea. Then I'll clean all this stuff off. But it also, the scraper helps to get the bigger portions off. And you clean it with isopropyl alcohol. Well, there it is. Relatively good. Looks like it's sealed all the way around. Now to take it home and see if it is actually sealed all the way around. Might get some rain on the way back, so we've got 2 days worth of driving, so we'll see. I finished polishing the inside surfaces of both windows. Now they go together. So now I'm going to try this caulking tape. And so I've cut it roughly 1/4 of an inch all the way around. And then I'll squeeze the two together, see if I can get some kind of even surface out of this. Just make sure everything fits properly first. And then see how it looks at the end. Some of this is going to squeeze out awkwardly, I know, but I'll try and straighten it out to get it as good as possible. We put the caulking in. It's a bit of a mixed bag. It was really hard to get the two curvatures to match. So then, of course, they don't match and you end up with one side sticking out, etc. So it has to be exactly the same curve or it doesn't fit properly. So I've got the caulking in. I've squeezed it together in various places. Some places it's definitely thinner than I wanted, but it's still sealing. And then previously they had duct tape, pieces of duct tape, 2 inches wide, roughly 6 to 8 inches apart, if I remember correctly. So this duct tape is thicker, so sealing would be a little bit more difficult. So I've put tuck tape on here. It's fairly strong against lateral movement. So hopefully that will hold it in position when everything's caulked into place and the window is put back in. But you can see it's pretty clear, certainly clearer than it was. I cleaned the window with 1000 and then 2500 grit emery cloth and wet and light touch, and then I followed that with 3M fine and then ultra fine cut polish, and that brought it up nicely. Then I cleaned it with vinegar and water, so it got rid of all the oxidation, and now it's much clearer than it was. And the cracks that you may have noticed, was one piece that broke out when I was doing all my handling. There's a special glue or plexi-glas, and nothing else will work. And so you have to check online to get that. I tried a number of different things and nothing worked. So I went for the proper stuff. Make sure you get the needle that goes with it to apply it. It does a much better job than trying to squeeze it out of the tube and then getting it too thick, etc. But it's kind of like a crazy glue, but it's a different formula. It works like a crazy glue. You keep things apart, let it start to set up, and then squeeze them together and hold. But it's crazy glue does not work. I've got the weight on here just so it doesn't arc back into position, just in case this tape slips. So next thing, when it actually stops raining, which we had a few nice days and then it just couldn't handle it anymore, so it rained. And you can see what happens when the wind is from the east. So something the people who've poured the floor never straightened out. Anyway, there's the window. So as soon as it warms up, I will put the window back in. And this time I'll use that Sikaflex rubberized caulking. It seals very well. It never gets completely hard, so things can continue to shift and not crack, etc. So that'll be the next step. There is a Ward trailer window ready to go back in. There's Sikaflex all the way around, except for this stretch, just so I could show you how deep I put it. So this groove is a little more than 1/4 of an inch wide. A little more than 1/4 of an inch wide. And I filled it to roughly 1/4 inch deep, a little bit less than that. So I'll finish filling it and slide the window in. So this is all hooked down except in the corners. So I'm hoping that'll work. Here goes. It's a one-shot deal. That's the coarse bit. Put the bead inside. I put the bead on this, in between this and the plexiglass, between this rubber and the plexiglass, without the tension rubber that goes in here. And then I will let everything set up and trim it off later. It's just a big pain in the butt. That's all I got to say. Lots of cleanup. I've run this utility knife along the edge like that, being careful not to cut the rubber. And then you can pull away some of it this way. That's one way to do it. It'll come off cleanly once it's set enough. And then I can work off a strip. Once I do that, I can pull it by hand. That's the theory. So, let's see what we can do. You have to watch on the corners. It's really easy to get into the rubber. Don't want that. Like that. Just did it. There. See my tuck tape showing through. Not really what I had in mind. Now we've got that. Gonna pull it off. And it should come off cleanly. Etc. Like that. And more cleaning to do, as you can see. It ain't factory, but it's in there. And I did put another crack in the window. Just a pain in the butt. Now this is all squeezed out in between. I'll never get that out. I can clean it further inside, and I will. And then to clean up the tape residue on the fiberglass. And hopefully it doesn't leak no more. Please don't forget to like, share, subscribe, or even notify, or any of the above, or all of the above. Thank you.